Higgins, I can see that look in your eye. You're just waiting to ask me, how do I like my podcast?
How do you like your podcast?
Oh, Higgins, you really caught me off guard, but thank you for asking. You know how I like my podcast? Shaken, but not stirred.
Oh, man, that's a martini joke.
It is, because we're having a martini. See, the thing is, though,
Kind of.
people are going to think we're talking about a James Bond book.
Not
We're
a chance.
We're not. It's really going to throw them off. Hopefully they stick around. Good joke, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll like it. On with the show?
Yeah.
Cool. Welcome back, everybody, to Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics, the show where we get together, we read together, but most importantly, we drink together. I messed that up along the way somewhere. The wording always gets mixed around. It's fine. The point is, we're doing all three of those things. Me, Snoop Lynch, Higgins Sturm, my co-host. There he is.
That's me right here.
Mm-hmm. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
That's great.
I'm feeling pretty good.
Mm-hmm. How's quarantine been?
I work. I'm essential, and
So some good has come out of this then.
I guess so.
That's the first. You got a paper for it, right?
Yeah. I got a paper. I put it in my car. I haven't had to use it yet. Like, I want a cop to stop me. I'm like, come on.
Look at this.
Let me show it to you. Otherwise, what's it for?
You framed it and you just keep it in the back hoping that someone will ask you about it. Like, oh, this little thing?
I did get a frame, but haven't had to use it yet. I'm fine.
Higgins, you want to talk about more important things?
I guess so.
Yeah, like what we do here on the show, we read books.
Yeah, we read a book. We read a book this week.
This month.
Yeah, this month. We do this monthly.
I know I reminded you last time, but we do this monthly. I see you once a month, even before quarantine. That hasn't changed. But anyway, what did you read this month?
I read this book called Marvels, the 1994 Marvels by Kurt Busiek and art by Alex Ross.
I also read that. We could probably talk about it together.
All together. Man, did you see me? I said all the words. They're not even on the page right now. Kurt Busiek. I just remembered.
Oh, man. In 94, too? You really killed it. Who
I know.
publishes it, though?
Oh, man. Marvel.
Correct.
Nice. Nailed it.
Yeah.
In one.
I didn't actually look up who kind of created this, like who came up with the idea. I did watch, there's a few YouTube videos on Alex Ross's channel where he goes into this, because last year they had the 25th anniversary edition come out. That's actually the version I read, and I'll kind of get into what that means. But they interviewed him for that, and he kind of went through the initial pitch and idea of it. And as we follow the main character in this book, guy by the name of Phil Sheldon, I think.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, thanks. He comes up with an idea to create his own book, because he's a photographer, so he takes really cool photos, and he wants that to be a book about like going through decades with superheroes in your life. And that's basically what Alex Ross was trying to do with this book anyway. He wanted to kind of create a book of Marvel's history for them. At the time, this was, like you said, it was published around 94.
Yeah.
He said back in 89 that Marvel was doing, they called it a prestige format. So it's like, really just
fancy stuff.
Really fancy stuff. Real thick paper. Just, you cut yourself probably just turning a page. But it was just, it was premium content. And they were hiring painted artists. And that's Alex Ross is really
He's got them watercolors, and he sticks with it. Everything he makes. We've gotten an Alex Ross before, right?
Maybe on a thing. I don't know if this is the first time. This may be the first time we saw him do interiors.
Okay.
I can't say for sure. We've done at least one or two podcasts before this, but the reason that is because, like you said, he paints everything, he colors everything. The reason why you don't see a lot of art like this is because it's so intricate and so detailed.
It takes so much time.
Originally, this was only a 4-issue limited series, and so I think it came out monthly, but that's 30-something pages. Actually, probably more than that. These are long.
This is like a 50 or something like that, man.
And they're all painted, and it looks amazing, and that's going to be one of my points that I want to talk about when we really get into it. But, yeah, just you can tell that this book, while Kurt Busiek is an excellent writer, he's done a few other things I've read. He did that Flintstones run a while back. That's actually pretty good.
Oh, I heard people talking about Flintstones. I didn't read it.
Yeah, it kind of Kurt Busiek's thing is he likes to kind of take these cartoons and these comics and take the fantasy element, not necessarily out of it, but make it more grounded and more character based. And that works really well with Alex Ross's art and intention because he wanted that. He wanted you to feel that in this book. He wanted kind of things to be as realistic as possible. Like he has a whole interview on how he came up with the flames on the Human Torch.
Man.
And it's very fascinating because doing art for comics or just doing art in general is a lot of work goes into that. But I've never heard of anyone who hires models, dresses them up in the costumes he needs them to be in.
Yeah. I saw a note about that. He like hired his friends and stuff to just like stand up in costumes for him.
Yeah, or he actually just he pays models and he'll sketch them out. He said for the Human Torch in particular to figure out how to paint flame as believable as possible, he took pictures of a model and then looked at the negatives because back then you used film.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't live in this digital world.
Figure out the opposites, like where it's white and the blacks, they swap
That's
when
right.
you find a negative.
That's right, yeah. Which for him turned out to be a positive because the reason he did that is because you can see kind of the way, he said it helped him envision the way that light would look coming out of someone. And so that was kind of his base, like just shadows and light, the kind of way it hit a person. And then from that, he just studied fire. Like he had footage of things that he lit on fire and kind of saw how it traveled across an object and kind of how that started and where, it really combusts. And that's how he got that look. And the only reason like this is important to me as it is because this was his initial pitch for this story. This was kind of his selling point was look at what I can do with this character. Just imagine what I can do with the rest of the world.
Look at all this fire I can draw and paint.
And
it probably really helped his hot rod business too.
his true passion in life, yeah.
All those fire decals they put on the side of the cars,
man.
so they can go really fast.
Man, I barely see him. It's just a blur. But yeah, and I mean, even then, he still kind of had to really work on this. In the 25th anniversary edition that came out last year that I read, there's almost like a second book in this because 200 odd pages of it are just stuff about the making of this book. Like it's all of his sketches, it's his artwork, it's pictures of the models, and then it's like side by sides of the models and then the people he based the drawings off of. The Fantastic Four. Anytime you see like Sue and Reed doing some kissing, that's actually his parents.
Oh, gross.
I know you have to sketch your parents making out for a couple hours, but hey, you know what? That just shows how dedicated he was to his craft, and I respect that.
I mean, like at the end of the day, like I don't know what he's into, but he might have got two birds with one stone out of that one.
Higgins, are you really one to judge when last month you talked about one of your favorite parts in Day Tripper was when he kissed his cousin?
Oh man,
that's right. I'm bringing it back.
Cousin kissing. Did we read Day Tripper last month?
We did.
Man,
we had that really good drink. I can't remember.
It was called the Day Tripper.
Oh yeah, it was. That's not important though, is it? We're on this book now.
Speaking of the drink, we made one of those.
We do that too. Yeah. You mind if I take this one?
Yeah, you got it up on your screen,
I
right?
do. Yeah. I've got some ingredients and whatnot, but as always, I'll link those in a description that you can look at and make for yourself. This one's actually called The Journalist.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't said anything about that, but Phil Sheldon takes pictures for newspapers.
I think I said that.
You said about a book. About a book.
Well, here I'll say it right now, and then I'll take that.
You can edit it in post.
Exactly.
I got you.
So Marvels is about Phil Sheldon who takes pictures
for newspapers.
I'll just take that part and throw it into.
All right.
It's seamless. Don't
Seamless.
But yeah, so we did a drink called The Journalist, and it's got a little bit of everything in here. It's got some gin, some triple sec, some lemon juice, some bitters. And it's also got some vermouth, which apparently...
Two kinds of vermouth,
which apparently in our area is nearly fucking impossible to find.
Hey, we're not in the fancy part of the world, so you can't expect us to get the finer things.
3 stores, and I barely found it.
Hey, barely is not never found it.
Do we not drink martinis here in Georgia?
I guess not.
Do we not do fine dining and cooking with vermouth? I asked one person I asked someone who works at a liquor store. They had no idea what I was talking about.
Hey, but man, we got it. We're drinking it. Mm-hmm. And man, I was not sold on it when I saw what was in it, but it's not as good as the last one, but it's not very bad at all considering it's almost all just liquor.
It's a different beast than the last one. every time I go to drink this, I smell those bitters, and I feel like I'm about to drink a flower. It's good. It's a little sour, but I kind of like that. It's I don't know. I think the sweet vermouth where you don't really taste it is just kind of to offset how
dry everything else is.
exactly, but it works, and it doesn't look appealing, and we don't have it in martini glasses because we haven't bought any yet. But
You guys can't see that anyways.
no, well, they can hear it when we put them
Oh
on
yeah,
our-
you're right.
Yeah, they make a distinct sound. Like later we'll get some and we'll swirl them around and they'll just know.
Like that thing where you make the noise when you put your finger on the ring of the cup to sound.
You don't need to be putting your finger anywhere.
That's what it does.
No, Higgins.
I was rubbing it on the thing and it made the whistle noise. Did you hear it?
These mics are high quality. You can't lie to the listeners when you're just blowing into a microphone, all right? They hear everything, every step, every detail. God. But yeah, it's all right drink.
Yeah.
I give it.
We don't give our drinks ratings here, folks.
I'll give it that I'll drink more than one probably. That's what I give it. What
All
about
right.
you?
Yeah, I can maybe do one more.
Awesome. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave a link where you can make it the way we made it, courtesy of diffordsguide.com.
He's gonna drop it like it's hot, and that's exactly what Johnny Storm is in the Zero issue.
Great segue, but also not a good segue because that's not Johnny Storm.
Who is it?
I see. I'm going to give you a break on this one. Normally, I just call you out, but this is actually the original Human Torch, and I didn't know that was a thing until I looked it up. So what threw me?
Johnny Storm shows up eventually, though, right?
He does.
Okay.
So you want to kind of? Oh wait, Higgins, man, this is so ridiculous. You took all the facts in the beginning, so I forgot to throw out the most important thing: the synopses that I do.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Do that.
This will probably clear things up for you a little bit too.
Oh.
Just all new info for your ears, Higgins. But anyway, I want you to witness the dawn of the age of Marvels through the lens of photojournalist Phil Sheldon, who as we said, takes pictures for the newspaper.
For the newspaper.
From the unveiling of the android Human Torch through the Fantastic Four's battle with Galactus to the death of Spider-Man's first love, Gwen Stacy. And in their long-awaited return to Marvels, Busiek and Ross introduced Sheldon to the all-new, all-different X-Men. And that's referring to the epilogue that you also managed to read before this.
Oh man, I almost didn't know it even existed. So
I thought about it.
Luckily you told me, because otherwise I'd just be swimming around here blind, but not naked, because that's what one guy does.
Namor?
Yeah.
Just no shame.
Submariner.
No shame with that guy. Yeah, so that threw me off initially because I know a little bit about the Fantastic Four, not really, but as far as I've always known, Johnny Storm.
They went in space together in the spaceship, and then the rays hit them, and then they got powers, right?
Yeah.
Based on what they were doing in the ship at the time.
I think that's just a really bad live action movie. I think
That's all I've seen.
Yeah. You remember that time that Reed Richard got gray temples from getting hit with a space blast?
Yeah, that happens in the book too, right?
Nope. But it happened.
But he's got the touch of gray in here, I swear.
Yeah, well, getting hit by a weird space blast probably stresses you out, Higgins. I don't blame him. But yeah, like that's what I know about the Human Torch is, he's a human and his sister's Sue Storm.
Yeah.
And they're human people. And then they get the space things and whatever. But this Zero issue was different. And I didn't even know this. This was an initial, this wasn't the first issue you got when this came out. This actually came after the ending of...
Oh, yeah. Which makes a lot of sense, because just jumping, if I had just jumped into the first issue, then I get a real brief version of what we read in the Zero issue, or in the first few pages. Mm-hmm. But someone was probably just like, man, I sure would like to see a little bit more of that guy, because I don't know anything about that fire guy.
I didn't either. And if it hadn't been for the Zero issue, I would have just assumed that it was the Human Torch.
Johnny Storm the whole time.
But I think the reason they went back and did that, this came out in the same year. It was August of 94, I think. I think the reason that this happened, like I said, this was Ross's whole selling point. And so I imagine he already kind of had a lot of this stuff laid out.
Yeah.
And so...
Was he created?
So this book, this whole thing, everything it does, every big fight scene you see, all the famous images and characters you see, they're just recreations of moments in Marvel's history.
Yeah.
Because Alex Ross is a history buff, and he wanted to do a history book for Marvel, which is what Phil Sheldon ends up kind of doing in the story. And so it makes sense that they're like, yeah, let's just take parts of Marvel's history and go through it again. And so the Human Torch, this version of the Human Torch, his character's name, he eventually calls himself Jim Hammond, and he first appeared in Marvel Comics #1 back in 1939.
Oh, wow.
So as far as I know, and I'm sure other people know better than me and they can correct me, but from what I gather, this is the very first Marvel, like official Marvel superhero. And
that's basically what he is in this like universe.
Exactly. And that kind of sets and so like I said, this was created after the first 4 issues, but I think that's kind of weird because this really sets up kind of the tone of this story from the beginning if you are reading that first. But I mean, it's not like important that it does come first. I think it works so much better reading this first because and then finding that out because that's how they did the rest of this book. Like anytime you see a big fight, you see a pose, it's just it's a panel taken from another story. Like,
yeah, there's like a piece, and it's like the Galactus fight from Fantastic Four. You see a lot of cool fights with like Green Goblins, Spider-Man and stuff, Gwen Stacy, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Sad stuff.
Yeah.
Mutants doing their thing.
Mm-hmm. And then getting in trouble for doing their thing.
Yeah, people really don't like mutants.
Racism, you know?
That's
what it is.
Can we just like make it a little like less obvious that that's what you're doing?
I was going to ask, this is a little off topic, but I was going to ask you about this. And we've kind of mentioned it before to each other. Are the X-Men still relevant? Or, I don't know. In the 60s, it made sense. But nowadays, it's like, it's just kind of an on-the-nose metaphor that doesn't really make as much sense. In this, it does, because it's set in that time period, but...
I think, like, the mutants just don't make sense, and because there's all these other flying people going around, and for some reason, the people that just happen to have the powers from birth are the ones that people are like, oh, we can't be with them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's a lot of things in here where it's like, you get a really good scene with like J. Jonah Jameson, where he's like notorious for hating like every single superhero, specifically Spider-Man.
He's not biased, Higgins.
Well, yeah, that's that like big scene where you basically find out the reason that he doesn't like any superheroes is he's envious of their powers and he'll never be able to do that sort of thing. So he's on a witch hunt to basically take them down.
Yeah,
to his level at least.
It hurts his ego because
he wants to be the big man on top.
Exactly.
He does the newspaper. He's the boss man there, but all Spidey man, he's getting on the front page every day.
Yeah, he can just swing to the top of the building. He's already above J. Jonah Jameson.
He's sitting on the top of the Daily Bugle.
Mm-hmm. And he's getting paid by him. It's a double whammy. But yeah, like I said, it's not really important. But the X-Men for me, I love the X-Men. I would really enjoy if someone could take them and kind of do a plot that doesn't really kind of harp on that. I mean, I know it's their thing, but like you said, it doesn't make much sense these days, especially when you get them in a group book when all these other superheroes are swinging around, because how do people know that they got their powers from birth and not a weird space accident? Like, how does the regular man know?
I don't know, man, but like, I'd much rather get my powers from a weird space accident.
So you could get some gray temples?
Well, I think I'd appreciate it more. Like, you know, like here I am just sitting around on the ground doing my thing, and then all of a sudden here I am in a space accident, and now I got powers. It's like you're telling me not only did I not die in this space accident, but I got powers now?
It's a real gamble though, Higgins. What if you get a bad power?
I mean, like, if I get any power, you better believe I'm not saving any people. Like, these people, they're like, oh, I got powers. Guess I'll save people. It's like, not me. Seems a bit ridiculous.
Just no responsibility.
No responsibility. With some power comes no responsibility.
Yeah. I like that issue with the X-Men, though, mainly because the art's amazing. That one bit where
he throws a rock at Iceman?
That's pretty funny. I forgot how weird Iceman used to be when he just kind of covered himself in snow.
In ice all the time?
He used to wear little yellow boots for some reason. But no, there's a bit where Phil Sheldon sees them up close, and you just see Cyclops' visor light up.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, and he just keeps flashing back to that image of just the
everything.
Visor. It does really sell that aspect of this is why people are scared of them, because they don't know what they're gonna do.
They're as we're finding out, Marvels are new, mutants are new, and people want to assume they're good, especially like people like Phil Sheldon who's seen like every side of the story. He's like, I can't be the one to say like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely going to be good, and then like a lot of people die.
Yeah.
They assume guilty until proven innocent for like most superheroes.
And they take him for granted, as we find out through the story, and he finds that out too.
And that's kind of wishy-washy throughout the thing, because he starts out like, oh man, Marvels, I don't know about these guys. Oh man, Marvels are pretty good. Oh man, Marvels are bad again. Like I didn't like that one thing they did. And then he's like, oh man, Marvels are back, but mutants are down. He finally turns around on them like by the epilogue, I think.
He comes around on him more, like he starts to come around on him at the end of the second issue because of the mutant girl that's living in his basement. And I think that's why that one's my favorite.
He gets to the point where he's conflicted about his beliefs. I don't know if he's quite turned around on him just yet, but like he's at least like, maybe they're not all that bad.
Yeah, it lays the seed for not only that, but also he starts to see that the people can be just as bad, because it's when he finds out about the mutant girl, and then I think there's like a riot in his neighborhood, and he's afraid that they found that mutant, that he's just like, these are my neighbors that I have, barbecues with every Sunday, and
they would kill this little girl.
And maybe us as well.
Yeah, for having the little girl there.
Yeah, and so that kind of really lays the groundwork for his turn throughout the rest of the series, where he really kind of gets attached to the Marvels and sees what they're actually trying to do, and gets angry because people just kind of like, they want him when there's something really bad happening, but then as soon as that's over, they blame them for what happened. Yeah,
like all the bad stuff. They're like, well, these buildings fell down. And you're like, well, man, like they also just like saved you from being blown up by the big space monster. Maybe give him a break.
Hey, cut him some slack, Get him an ice cream. Get him a hot dog. Whatever was popular in New York in the 30s. Yeah,
hot dog's probably right at the ballpark.
Just a classic dog with your best girl.
With your best girl, Doris, because they're all named Doris, right?
That's right. This book. They do have two women named Doris for some reason.
I just thought it was funny because I've been listening to like the podcast version, and like Ben Urich doesn't get mentioned a lot in this book, but he's the side man in the thing, so it was kind of cool to see him. But I didn't know his wife's name was Doris, and then they were like, Doris is on the line for you, and they were like, which one? They both say which one.
I guess that's just the thing in comics, because it's the whole like Martha situation over at DC, and I didn't know that until that terrible movie came out and made that clear. But yeah, that is a funny joke. There's not a lot of levity in this, and that's not really the point, but there are funny kind of lighthearted moments.
Yeah, we get every now and again.
It's like I said, it's an interesting book coming, and these are kind of my favorite superhero comics these days. I've read so many stories about kind of like the adventures of these superheroes, and kind of they go through the same kind of moments. Like Spider-Man goes through very similar moments throughout various runs. So to come to a book like this, where it is all this stuff I've seen before and I know, but it brings something fresh to it.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. And I think the art does most, like I said, Kurt Busiek is a great writer, but I think the point of this book is the artwork. I think that having Alex Ross do all of the interiors and every image just basically be a poster really sells what these characters that we're reading about go through. Like, we're just as surprised as them when we see Namor and the Human Torch fight above a bridge.
Man, that was rad. That picture, like them like going at it, like one's throwing like the beam at the other one, because Namor is super strong.
Yeah, he's a dick, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like...
And he shows his dick a lot, too.
Man, there's definitely like, the Ben Affleck thing where you see his penis in that movie, but you're not really sure if you see his penis in that movie.
What movies are you watching?
I think it's Gone Girl. I'm pretty sure there was a whole thing on the internet where everybody was like, if you freeze it on this frame, Ben Affleck penis.
There's a little Affleck.
Which, like, I could see Namor being played by Ben Affleck. Give him some pointy ears, slick his hair back.
Nah.
They were pretty good about like censoring old Namor. Like there was a shadow like one time where I was like, oh man, his wing's right there. But the rest, there's always like a leg or a post or something in front of it.
Cowards, in my opinion.
Yeah, come on.
He's proud. Why not be proud of it too?
Yeah, it's honestly a poor decision. Like, I know, like, people are pretty against capes, but, like, I think the spandex are a good idea.
Well, Namor's always been, like, honestly, that's Namor's whole thing. Like, it oddly works for just his character. There's been some comics where someone just gives him a full spandex suit and it looks terrible. But most of the time he has a little Speedo and he has wings on his feet for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah, they have that there.
But, man, I hate Namor. I hate that character. He's just an asshole for no reason.
I did notice that, like, he'd be on the good side long enough to, like, do a good little fight with the Human Torch, and then all of a sudden, like, he was like, no, I'm gonna fight him now. I'm gonna get real upset and throw a lot of water at the whole city.
I'm gonna throw some bricks around that takes out Phil Sheldon's eye.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, you were asking about that earlier. That's what happened.
Oh man, that's that's kind of lame. I was thinking he got, like, shot or something. I couldn't remember.
He, like, went up. It was when Namor brought, like, a weird big tidal wave and the Human Torch was fighting him.
Oh yeah, he went up on the thing and then he got knocked out. I just saw that scene and I forgot that happened. That was when he got that really cool shot, right?
Oh yeah, that's when
He
he
was
got the
getting
one.
those cool shots, all the cool pictures. That's the other good thing about that art, because it shows you, like, it's supposed to be like a guy that takes a lot of good pictures. So you're like, you got to get a lot of scenes, freeze frames, stuff that he would want to take pictures of.
Shutter speed cranked up, slow that movement down. You know what that means, Higgins.
Yeah, FPS.
Yeah,
That means frames per second, guys.
just to catch up the rest of the kids.
Man, I know we had that whole confusing thing, and this is a tangent, but in this one freeze frame where all the superheroes are flying down with parachutes to fight the Nazis, both Human Torches are in it, and it looks pretty rad. I just noticed that now as
Yeah.
I'm looking at the end of book 1.
It's easy to miss. Yeah, like I said, that's what's good about this book is we know a fair amount about these characters, you and I, other people more so, but we know things. But a lot of this stuff, like the early stuff, I didn't know because it's changed since then. Like, it's not the status quo these days. And I like this book for that reason alone.
It's just teaching me so many things. I learned so many things. I fell asleep a couple times reading it, but that's just me.
It's just because the pictures are
I'm
so
sleepy.
soothing. They're pretty, you know? Wow. Yeah, like I said, it's just, this isn't for someone who,
Just wants
doesn't-
a lot of gratuitous action scenes.
well, certainly not that, but this book isn't for a lighthearted kind of new Marvel fan. I think you'll lose a lot by reading this without kind of catching up on these characters and kind of reading some of their big stories.
It is 100% throwback nostalgia. It's like, you know how we had about 50 years of comic books or more? Let's look at all of them.
They're in this one now. Take a look. Yeah, they picked some of the best moments as
That
well.
being said, I don't know, like, anything, and, like, I still had still had a fun time.
Solid. I'm glad. Yeah, like I said, you don't even have to be like as caught up with it as say you and I are, which isn't much to be fair, but I think you need to know a little bit about most of these characters before you can really appreciate what they've done with this. And some issues I get more out of than others. Like the fourth issue is the Gwen Stacy Spider-Man one. It's been a while, but I have read that storyline, and I've seen, you know, they did it in a really terrible movie, but that scene was
Hey.
good. But
Like a perfectly average movie.
it's no good, Higgins.
It's a perfectly average
There's
movie.
dubstep, and they make a joke about how there's dubstep in the movie.
Was that in Spider-Man 3? I haven't seen it in a while.
You don't even know which one it is.
Is it not Spider-Man 3?
It's the Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's the one that killed the franchise again.
Wasn't Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Man 3?
Nope.
Who died in was that the
James
someone,
Franco.
Well, someone fell down a hole and Spider-Man saved him before it hit the ground, right?
No, I think he just let him hit
There
the
was
ground.
a clock tower.
That's Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
James Franco died in Spider-Man 3. They kissed at the end. It was real sad and beautiful.
Tobey Maguire and James Franco kiss?
Who else? God,
Man, that's a pretty good movie.
you're giving the people what you want. But that moment is like, that's the Spider-Man moment for a lot of people, probably myself included, and it gives you this different take on it. Because again, it's not so much about Spider-Man; it's about Gwen Stacy.
Man, I did see that because, like, this is pretty towards the end where Phil Sheldon's on, like, his, like, uptick and, like, it's only going up from here, boys tick. Like, he's not gonna ever like drop down. He's just gonna feel bad about the fact that he was down on these guys for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's like on the hook for like killing her dad or something like that.
Yeah. George Stacy, yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, until Gwen showed up, I was like, who's this George Stacy guy? And then I was like, oh yeah, I guess Gwen Stacy's dad was a cop. Thanks, Emma Stone.
Dennis Leary.
Dennis
in the
Leary.
other average, not as bad, but still bad Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah.
He gets stabbed by the lizard or something.
Yeah, that didn't happen in this one. He got blown up by Doc Ock or something, right? He got hit by some rocks.
Yeah. That issue's good for a lot of reasons because, like you said, Sheldon's kind of, he's on up there in age and he's been doing this a while and he's kind of fed up with people's attitude. And I think a lot of it is guilt as well because he was that way many of times. But he's kind of just become, like, he's a bitter old man. And he has a new purpose, and that's to help the Marvels.
Oh yeah, make that book, make a second book to be like,
to clear Spider-Man's name is what
hey boys
he
and
wants
girls,
to do.
the Marvels are good.
Yeah. And so he's working on that, and then he comes across Gwen Stacy, and it's horrible to watch her death for him specifically because, like, one, he lost his lead, which...
That's the real issue. Not the fact that, like, she brought a whole new, like, side of, like, the world to him, because all these younger people are all about the Marvels, and, like, who would have guessed it? Old people suck and don't like things that are different than them.
Yeah, but new people are hip and rad and groovy.
Yeah.
That's a 60s word. But, yeah.
Tubular.
Yeah, like, there's a couple great panels where I think Namor's just, like, going to get somebody. He's being a dick again. It's what he does. It's fine. But...
Yeah, they don't really give him a chance. Like, we saw, like, one good thing about him.
They gave him, like, 5 chances.
I
He
guess
turned
that's
on him
true.
all the time.
Yeah, man, he's a bad guy.
Go after him before the X-Men. Jesus. But he's going through the city, and then some rain comes, and you just see Gwen Stacy just kind of, like, looking up in wonder at the rain and, like, big weird fish flying above her.
Oh yeah, but he was doing good. He was doing good thing that time.
No, he was parading through the city with an army to potentially fight anyone who kept him from taking back someone that was in Atlantis. Point is, he's a bad dude.
There was a city there.
Bad politics,
He
Higgins.
didn't kill anybody. They even said that.
But he was ready to kill everybody. He brought an army.
I guess that's true.
Yes,
how
it
are
is.
Those fish out? How are those fish outside?
They don't wear clothes so they can breathe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, is that how it works?
It will for this podcast.
Hold on.
But yeah, that moment of it's a small moment, and I think that's what this book is about ultimately. Like, you know, seeing the superheroes and, like, the awe and wonder and all the great fights and poses. Yeah, that's amazing. But I think it's the subtleties in this book, having the small moments with, like, Phil realizing he needs to be home with his family if it's the last day on Earth when they fight Galactus, or Gwen Stacy
yeah.
just appreciating this weird moment that
Spider-Man's.
because that moment is significant for him because while everyone else is scared, which to be fair they probably should be because there's a fish army around, she's not. She's just
Enjoying it.
and that kind of brings new life to him, which is then quickly taken away from him after her neck snaps.
Man, yeah, her neck does snap. And there's, like, the funny part, speaking of Spider-Man, where
I'm excited to see where this goes. Go on.
the Spider-Man, well, like, it's just funny because, like, the entire time Phil Sheldon's talking about Peter Parker being a dick for taking all these Spider-Man photos for J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
And we're just over here like, ooh, twiddle our fingers. We know that Spider-Man's Peter Parker. Joke's on him.
He calls him a weasel at one point.
I know, he calls him a dirty little weasel.
The ultimate insult for an old man to give someone else. Jeez.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. So there's one more, like, big thing I kind of want to talk about, and this can kind of lead
Are you
into
talking
it.
about the mutant riots?
Maybe. Probably
where
not.
they kill a bunch of people? And he's like, man, this is pretty bad, guys. This is bad.
Yeah. Some Sentinels involved, probably.
Yeah, some Sentinels were there.
Yeah. No, well, it wasn't
Oh,
that.
do you want to talk about the epilogue?
So I want to talk about what comes before the epilogue.
Oh, the part where he's like, ah, man, it's just too much. Like, I'm too old now. I can't take pictures. Here, lady that's been helping me this entire time.
You want a documentary? You want to film a documentary? Here's a camera.
Go do the thing.
Like, well, he's still paying me, so I guess. Yeah, that moment.
And then he takes a kid. Then he takes a picture with a random news kid.
Yeah, you want to know the funny part about that bit?
I know what it is already. That's Danny Ketch, and that's the Ghost Rider.
And then
I only know that because someone commented on the website that I read the comics on.
very good. Yeah,
He was like, "That made me laugh,"
yeah, because he's just like, get a picture of me and my wife with this regular kid.
and he's not going to be a regular kid.
It also signified the era of when this came out because Danny Ketch was the Ghost Rider of the 90s and now doesn't exist anymore because
Yeah,
he wasn't a good Ghost Rider.
because he wasn't Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Actually, he's probably a little better than Nicolas Cage.
Is
but
Nicolas Cage the Danny Ketch one?
he's the Johnny Blaze one.
Okay.
So they can make a fire joke.
Oh man, fire jokes.
Yeah,
man.
Danny Ketch, his design is awful. Like his vehicle, it's all bad. Look it up. It's terrible. But yeah,
We do get a newspaper that mentions Ant-Man and the Wasp, like for a brief second too. They get their shining frame, and it's not even a picture of him; it's just a headline.
well, the picture is probably him hitting his wife because I'm pretty sure that era is when that happened.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
It is cool. It's cool to hit your wife, isn't it?
Yeah. Deadbeat dads. I love them.
But that issue, I don't love it as an ending, and I'm kind of glad that we read this now because the epilogue just came out last year, and I think it works way better as an epilogue. It's so sudden. His turn isn't necessarily sudden. It's just everything that comes after her death, Gwen Stacy's death, is just so weirdly rushed, and then the book ends. It's really kind of sad in a way because he's just kind of like, yeah, I hate everything. I give up on this. I don't have the eye anymore. You go do it. You've got the eye. That kind of message of passing the torch, it doesn't really get across to me just because of how quickly it happens. And so when we get into the epilogue, it does kind of that similar thing. It's a way better payoff, in my opinion.
Did you forget he had daughters when you started the epilogue?
Yes.
Because I did.
Yeah.
And were they supposed to be twins, or are they just like very similar looking?
It was like the 60s. Everyone's similar looking.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's got glasses and brunette hair. Which, to take that back, the epilogue is actually the 70s. And the only reason I know that is because the outfit that Storm transforms into is her 70s outfit. I looked it up.
Pretty scantily clad Storm.
Well, that's the 70s for you, man.
Glitz and glamour.
Glitz and glamour.
Really long boots.
I really clamor. There it is. Yeah, I think the epilogue delivers that message of he's had his time and
His kids like taking pictures.
yeah, and it doesn't like definitively say that, okay, now they're going to do this, but
He just notices that they have an interest in at least the idea of like seeing these guys do what they do best.
the job itself doesn't necessarily pass on to them, but what does kind of carry over is that sense of wonder and appreciation that at the end of issue 4, he just assumed that no one really had. I didn't really believe that he thought like that woman really wanted to make a documentary for the same reasons he wanted to make a book. But when he sees his daughters kind of taking the pictures and they ask him they're like, is this what it was like for you all these years? And then you see a really great double-page spread or whatever of all of like the big pictures he had taken like throughout all those decades of his career. And you see kind of this light come back to him, like this hope for the future with younger people. And I think with that ending, it ends on a brighter note. Which,
Man, so many cameos in this epilogue too, right?
yeah, there's a decent amount.
We got the Wolverine. We got all the main X-Men. There's some X-Men I don't know. I think the guy with the mustache here and a leather jacket's supposed to be the Beast. Maybe one's Colossus. There's another guy with an eye patch over here.
Banshee was in there
Was she? I don't know. Oh yeah, that's the one that makes the loud noises.
with a really dumb suit and wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you're talking guy with the eye patch was probably White Nick Fury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, Doctor Doom may have been ice skating. I remember that.
Yeah,
bit.
no. They I read something where someone mentioned. Oh yeah, I see him over here in the right corner. There's like he's got silver and like a cape and stuff like that.
Yeah, real fun.
A lot of cameos. Who's Nova?
He's the Green Lantern of the Marvel universe.
Okay.
They have you remember Guardians of the Galaxy, the film? Peter Serafinowicz and John C. Reilly?
Yeah.
They were the Nova Corps.
Oh.
So Nova is a specific character that he has his own comic. He's the main character. That version, which I'm assuming is that version, has the worst name of any comic character.
Nova?
No, his name's Richard Ryder. Pretty bad, right?
Yeah, that's pretty funny, guys. It's Dick Ryder. That's the joke.
Higgins, they could hear the joke through the microphone. Jeez, man.
I like telling people what the joke is.
Just to make sure everyone's... Well, you just like people feeling included. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, that book does a lot of this, too. It is just kind of a smorgasbord of, look at this. Look at this. Don't you remember this? You've heard about this. Like, it is a good book in that regard for...
It's good for Marvel stuff just because they're in the public eye now with all the movies and stuff. Like, even if you don't know anything about comics, you've seen like half these characters at least already.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I don't know, like I said, the issue or the edition that came out last year was the 25th anniversary. So I'm assuming they did it for that reason. But yeah, it came at a good time because 2019 we saw Endgame was like the culmination of all those movies. People were obviously well on board for that because it's the highest grossing film of all time, as for right now. Until Avatar 2 through 5.
Oh man, I'm so excited for Avatar 2 through 5.
That makes one person. But yeah, like,
it's gonna be good.
Like you said, people are really on board with this stuff, and so I think it's a cool thing to come to a book like this and get something else out of it that you necessarily don't get from the movies. And that's this history, these moments, these fights. Like, Galactus is one of the biggest supervillains in Marvel's history, and I don't really know, like, I don't know many of those stories. I know he was a Fantastic Four villain in the Silver Surfer. Like, I know that kind of storyline.
I haven't seen it either.
But in a way, you have seen it because a lot of those panels in this are from that. And
just from, like, a different angle.
Yeah, like a top-down angle.
Yeah.
Or no, I guess a bottom-up angle because he's really tall, so you look up at him.
Yeah. And, there was one more thing. Like, Logan's like, oh, man, do you have a light? And he was like, no, I don't smoke. And then he was like, oh, it could have fooled me because Wolverine can smell like...
That's a good joke, yeah.
And apparently, like...
he hadn't had a cigarette in, like, a year, but
he hadn't had a cigarette in a year. And then, like, apparently, like, because Wolverine's, like, got animal senses and that sort of thing... Like, apparently dogs and, like, stuff that have a keen sense of smell can, like, smell cancer cells being formed. So he's probably going to die of lung cancer.
Jeez, I was just assuming that the cigarette smell was just still in his clothes. Like, he just couldn't smell it. But
yeah, I did some research and found out that he's probably dead. And also, this book is set in between the new... Marvel's like run, which is called Marvel's Eye of the Camera or something like that. And I read a thing that said, like, oh, you wanted to bring it back, but we wanted to make a story that could still be nostalgic to people that read the original run.
Yeah, I completely forgot about all that stuff. Yeah, that's actually interesting because, Marvel's Eye of the Camera is like a 5-issue series that came out, I think, in 2008. Kurt Busiek returned, but Alex Ross didn't. And it's considered the sequel to this.
Yeah.
Like you said, it might, like, kind of intertwine, but... They've been trying to do more stuff with this for a while, apparently. Kurt Busiek wanted to do a sequel, and Alex Ross wasn't on board necessarily, and then Busiek got into a fight with his editor at the time, and so he just took that storyline that he was going to use, and he used it in his other big series that I think is still going. It's called Astro City, which is...
Oh, I heard about that.
It's like his own kind of take on this, but with just his own superheroes in the world. I've heard it's really good. There's a corgi in it that is...
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so he did it with that, and then they came back to the Marvel's Eye of the Camera, but they just announced with this 25th anniversary edition, a new book is coming this year.
Oh,
it's starting in May. It's called The Marvels, and it's actually going to focus more on the superheroes, but it's going to be kind of what Alex Ross originally intended for this book, because it's going to be like an anthology. So you'll see different moments, and
I got you. They're
going to introduce some new characters as well. Like, it's going to jump around in times and events and whatever. I'm actually pretty interested in it after reading this. Alex Ross isn't doing the interiors, but he is back in some capacity. I think he's doing, like, character design and covers, because that's mostly what he does these days. Is he does a lot of covers.
That's what we want. We want them pastels and them watercolors.
He probably makes more money doing covers, selling them to people.
Yeah.
His art goes for crazy money. And then Yildiray Sinar, I butchered that. That's a person's name who's going to do the art for this new series.
I'm sure it is.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll keep up with that.
Is.
We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll come back to this at a later date and just check out this new series. Yeah, I don't know. I can't necessarily say that I loved this book. I think it's really interesting.
Well, that's good.
It is nice to have a different opinion sometimes, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I also wasn't 100% sold on it.
Yeah, I think it does what it wants to really well. Like, it's a quiet book. And so kind of going into this blind, if you think you're going to get like a classic Marvel superhero versus supervillain, balls to the wall action tale, you'll probably be disappointed. But I think if you kind of want something different out of the Marvel universe after getting some of that before, there is some really good stuff to take from this, and it's an enjoyable read for that reason. Like I said, I don't think it's for everybody, but if you like this stuff, this is a good one to pick up, I think. So for that reason, that long explanation I just gave, Higgins, I will give this a rating, which will be 1 Marvel Comics from 1939, signed by Alex Ross, but he went in and painted all over the Human Torch panels to look like his Human Torch because he put a lot of effort into that flame.
Okay.
Yeah. So pretty solid, I think.
Yeah, I can't come up with anything clever, so I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10.
It's bullshit. I know. I have it on record. You giving me crap about bad ratings, and you go and just bring out a regular rating?
Yeah, I did it.
16 episodes in, and you've already just...
I caved in.
I don't want to accept this, but I will, because we're equals on this show.
I'll only do it this time. I won't do it again.
Your coworker listens to this sometimes, right?
This is my one. Yeah.
All right. If you're listening, give him crap about this rating, because I know you've given me crap about mine, which is fine, by the way. I get it. But, yeah, don't let this slide.
All right. That's fair. This is my one. This is my mulligan. 7 out of 10.
Man, you used it pretty early on.
I know, man. Won't get to use it again.
And we're doing this until we die, so...
Yeah, that's true. So you had a surprise for me?
Yeah.
About next month's.
Higgins, I got 2 surprises for you now.
You got 2?
I'll tell you about the book that we're going to read here in a second, but your first surprise is I'm letting you know that after we stop this, you're going to make me one more drink.
Okay.
Surprise. But moving on to the next surprise.
What we're reading,
because we read a book every month, Higgins. Not weekly, monthly. I can't stress that enough.
Monthly. maybe bi-weekly soon.
Maybe. That's a lot of work for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot more buying alcohol for both of us.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Which, luckily, the only thing we had to buy was that vermouth. And it was pretty cheap.
Vermouth.
Mm-hmm. I still need to get your half on that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much money it costs.
It's fine. I'll figure it out.
Money ain't no object. I got all that podcast money rolling in.
Just rolling in. Yeah.
Rolling in it. Maybe once we get a sponsor, I can stop stealing from like your bedroom every time I record this.
Yeah. I don't even know how you keep getting in there. I lock all the doors, but you're determined. That's fine.
I'm not going to do this for free. I refuse.
That's fair. So next month, Higgins, first day of summer in June. So I thought, let's pick a summer book.
Beach Boys comic book.
That's right. We're going to read our book while listening to the Beach Boys.
All right.
But the book we're going to be reading specifically, I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called Lumberjanes.
Lumberjanes? Mm-hmm. I've not heard of it.
You've never heard of it? Okay.
I've never heard of it.
I've heard it's pretty fun. I didn't really know what it was about, but I typed in summer books and two things popped up. It was this one and then one that was about like 2 girls hanging out over the summer, and apparently it was really dark and boring and nothing happens.
Super sad.
Yeah.
This looks like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it does kind of, doesn't it? Yeah, so Lumberjanes is, we're going to read the first volume, which it's written by Noelle Stevenson and Grace Ellis, Faith Hicks. There's a bunch of people in here, which we'll get to that next month. But
yeah, we don't need to tell anybody anything.
No, well, we'll tell them kind of what it's about so they're ready for it. Basically, it's just these 5 girls hanging out at a summer camp called Lumberjanes. But then some spooky stuff happens.
Oh, man, it's 100% Scooby-Doo, isn't it?
Yeah, but with girls.
You
think we're qualified enough to talk about that?
Man, we talked about girls a couple months ago.
That didn't go that well, though, did it?
I think it went all right. I mean, I'm sure like just as many people listen to it as any of our other podcasts.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So maybe just as many of those people listen to this next one, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it'll go one of two ways. Either we'll lose 50% of the audience, or we'll lose 50% of the audience.
Or we'll gain 100% of people that we don't got listening right now.
People who love girls going to summer camp that's named after lumberjacks.
But for girls.
It's a niche market, but we're going to tap into it.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is probably the first comic book that we've read that I've never heard of besides, pretty much, like, the only one that I haven't, like, got, like, any inkling of.
There was a Godzilla comic I knew nothing about.
But I knew about Godzilla.
Good point. We didn't know anything about Lumberjanes.
Nothing about Lumberjanes is all.
But we're going to next month, and so will you if you read it and come back and listen to us talk about it.
Listen to us talk about it.
Before we go, though,
Oh,
Higgins,
man, we're going to have a drink with syrup in it.
you have to pick the drink for this next one, because I
That's
picked
fair.
the book and
That's
the drink this time. So,
That's fair.
Yeah, no, get something good, real syrupy, real sweet. Maybe it has vermouth in it. Let's use this since it took me forever to find.
All right.
If not, I'm just going to chuck it out a window, and I don't really want to do that. But we're going to go. We'll be back next month. You will as well, hopefully. If not, no hard feelings. But before that, Higgins, tell them how they can talk to us if they want.
First of all, we need you to drop a $5 on our iTunes page because that's what gets the listens. That means drop 5 stars if you want to on our iTunes page,
Why don't you
like
just-
a rating and review.
Could have just
I
said
don't know. I was
that.
just trying to say it a fun way. I was trying to make this part like that's kind of lame, like a little exciting. I can't help it.
No, roll with it.
Yeah, we want to hear what you guys have to say. Drop a rating, review. You can email us about some of our past episodes. This one we just did, something you'd like us to read in the future at yourcomrades@gmail.com. Snoop has access to that, and he'll tell me if you send something to me.
I mean, I say I will, but
He's got 5 over there just holding up. Like, they're all saying, like, oh, man, Higgins is the best host of the show ever.
it's not that. It's just all very graphic, erotic fan sketches of you.
Oh, man, that's honestly pretty good.
Because the
If
pictures.
you guys can send us some of that, like,
well,
that's fine.
Higgins, what if they want to send it to just you?
Oh, they can do that. I'm on the Twitter and on the Instagram at Twitter's Mike Higgins 93 and Instagram is jsturm93, and you can find. Well, Snoop's just at the email. I mean, if you want to like send him something on his Instagram, I think you can probably still do that. And it's at Snoop_Lynch. He's also on the Twitter there.
I mean, you can't because I'm not going to be on there, but you can send it to Snoop_Lynch on either Twitter or Instagram. I made it easy.
On the gram.
But probably
On the lines.
probably use the email though. It's definitely what I'm going to see first. And yeah, like Higgins said, if you have the time, if you don't mind, maybe give us a little review. iTunes seems to be the place to do that. It's pretty easy. You do it in app.
I think people just see that rating like everywhere. I don't know how the internet works, but that sounds right to me. That's where I get my podcasts.
Very good. Some other people probably get them there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and thanks for listening.
Yeah.
If you are.
Thanks, guys.
If you
this
stayed.
is episode number 15,
16.
right? 16.
Higgins,
Man, what a whirlwind!
you really dropped the ball these last couple months.
What a whirlwind!
You only have one drink.
Well, I missed 15. I was kind of getting excited about it, but I guess 16's pretty cool too.
This is why we write it on the whiteboard when we're done.
Man, I have not looked at the whiteboard.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. Episode 16. We'll see you guys next month.
Yeah. Well, Higgins said all those things. He's put the mop down. We're ready to go for another month. We hope you come back. But until then, I'll say cheers, guys. And Higgins can't wait to say,
Say no more. Have a marvelous month, guys. You guys see that joke I did with the no more guy we've been talking about the whole time?
Higgins, it's the mics that can hear the joke.
Man, but did you hear it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.